We are the DFPN. Always question the answers.
No Gimmicks Podcast, and we bring it to you. Every time we turn live, man, you know it's the truth. Every after show, moving down, it's the time to move around. No Gimmicks Podcast is going down. Every night, every time in the ring, this is the time for the No Gimmicks, no, we doing our thing. What's your state of mind, state of mind? Moving down a statement when we take the line. This is exactly wrestling the state design. When you see Stone Cold like me, with the stunner in the world, exactly, man, what we bring. Every night we move like Brock Lesnar, the F5, no gimmicks. We take you to your limit, what's the feeling? When we live in the air, you know we on, that's the time. Guarantee we move, you know how we respond. The state is mine, the state design when we feel it. Moving down, what's the healing? No gimmicks is the feeling.
Yo, what is up, people? Welcome back to the No Gimmicks Podcast here on the DFPN. That is right. For all of the patrons out there, this is a Saturday morning special. We're back with our Saturday morning special show. Just like the old days, you wake up, you grab your coffee, you get some cereal, and you watch your favorite show. And this is it. Today we got a special guest with us. The NerdKing himself from the DFPN's newest show, Cutting Edge Hero. Shout out to the squad over there at Cutting Edge Hero. There's a couple other guys that can't be on the show today, but we got the NerdKing himself in there. Welcome.
What is up?
Mr. Danny, what's up, man?
Nothing much, man. Glad to be here. Huge wrestling fan ever since I was a little fella. Got a little lesson in wrestling history from D before we even went live. I'm excited to see where we go with all this. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I do have a couple little things I'd like to show off while I'm on here. I used to be a backyard wrestler, and I have both my hardcore titles here and up on the shelf. I'll pull them down and show them to you guys just through like the. What we did back in the 90s when we all had our own hardcore backyard wrestling federations.
Right. Awesome, man. Awesome. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your time. As always, my co-host, the Sith Lord, D Vader. Welcome back, buddy. How have you been?
It's another day, brother, in Mustafar over here. So no, it's pretty sweet, man. It's been storming like crazy out here lately, bro.
Really? Has it?
Oh hell yeah, dude. We were on a tornado watch the other night.
No way.
Yeah, way.
South Texas is wild, bro. that type, and it's wild because we're in we're in Tornado Alley up here, and it's been sunny as hell up here. So
no, not here. Yeah, we had a whole line of shit came through the other day, dropping hail and everything, and I'm out there driving in it.
I saw that. Is that true? Like, they had, like, hail that looked like snow and shit? Is that true?
I don't know about that, bro. We had hail look like damn golf balls that was dropping.
Damn.
Yeah, it was bad. But
that's crazy.
Through the power of the dark side of the force, I survived it, and I am here today. So
you had to force move some hail.
Hell yeah, absolutely. That's what the Emperor commanded me to do. So yes.
All right. Good shit. Well, welcome. Thank you, Jen, for joining in the chat. For everybody, Jen is also a part of Cutting Edge Hero. Thank you for joining the chat over here on the Patreon. If you cannot get here live, please, if you're listening, join us on the Patreon, patreon.com/DFPN. We do most of our shows on our Patreon, and we release them live after. We do have some live shows that we do. One of the good shows that we do have is Jen has never watched wrestling. Well, she's like two shows in now. But we do reaction series, and they are amazing. So come join us over here for that, man. It's a good time. But we got a good show for you guys here on this one. We are going to jump into some good stuff, and we're going to compare this to the old days. But let's jump into the show, and we are ready to go. going to start this with a WWE thing, but this is kind of industry wide because what they're doing is pretty interesting. So AEW has made it a point to announce their shows. Like All In, they have coming up on July 12th here in Arlington. They promoted this thing for a year. For All In, they've made it a thing to where they promote these things about a year in advance. Once you get to the next show, you already know the date and location of the next All In. They've kind of followed the WrestleMania format for that. What we have been seeing lately is WWE hasn't been really announcing a regular schedule. What they have done is they've waited for AEW to get their schedule out, and then they start popping up with dates. And those dates, coincidentally, are on the same dates as AEW shows. We've seen this recently with Battleground. Battleground was the same night as AEW Double or Nothing. You had to pick and choose what show you wanted to watch. Both shows were actually really good shows. Double or Nothing may have been AEW's best pay-per-view so far. The feeling that came out of that pay-per-view is that AEW is starting to gain momentum. So they've also announced an ECW arena residency. They're going to be at the 2300 arena. And that's coming up soon too. What WWE has done is they've booked the 2300 arena a week before AEW gets there. Also, they've announced through All In Weekend, they will be running shows. They have a NXT Great American Bash. They have a Saturday Night's Main Event. Then they have a women's pay-per-view, or PLE, they call them PLEs, on the night that AEW All In is going to be live. So my question, and I'll start with you, D, because this looks very familiar and you're our historian. Is this counter programming? One, because people seem to be confused on it. Is this counter programming? And is this good for the industry? And I'll give you the floor.
So it is counter programming. And it's basically like the more things change, the more they stay the same in WWE land. I mean, we saw this sort of behavior back during the 80s when Vince McMahon started the expansion into different territories. So he literally destroyed the territory system with the AWA and the NWA. And, remember he bought the time slot for Georgia Championship Wrestling. So He did a lot of different things to hurt the competition. Jim Crockett Promotions was the big one that he could never really kill, and they went back and forth. Like WrestleMania 4, for instance. That was real counter programming. We saw the very first Clash of Champions with Sting versus Ric Flair head-to-head against WrestleMania 4. So I'll say this. Do I think this is good for the industry? No, it's not good for the industry. Because essentially, what is WWE attempting to prove here by doing this? You already have majority of the market share. You already have record-breaking revenue because you're gouging your audience. Okay. I think when you mentioned there about they're waiting for AEW to drop their pay-per-view dates and calendar dates, whatever. I don't think that's the case. I think that if they are waiting for that, somebody is leaking internal stuff to them. So that way they are able to counter it. That's what I think is happening. But if you go on AEW's website, their list of their calendar shows is already up there. So if WWE wants to put on a show on whatever day they want to, they can do that. Do I think that it's a smart idea to put women's PLE up against All In Texas? No. Because you're essentially saying, well, we think this women's pay-per-view is going to be strong enough to compete with that. Here's the difference. One of those is going to be on Peacock. The other one is going to be pay-per-view. You have to pay to see that. I know in some areas you still got to pay for WWE stuff. I don't know who the hell would be doing that. But some areas you still do. But I think that what Tony Khan and AEW have to do is they have to put their best foot forward and they have to really start coming together as a team over there and putting out the best content they possibly can. Because now it seems like, okay, WWE is going to, we're going to kind of finish this war that AEW started. Remember, they ran them off on Wednesday nights. They said, we don't really care about this little T-shirt company. And so that T-shirt company started kicking their ass on Wednesday. But here's the thing. They kicked the ass of the WWE's developmental brand. We've never seen them go head to head. So this Evolution pay-per-view, this is the first time they've ever gone head to head, really, as far as like PLEs on the
main
same
level stuff.
main
You're
level.
right about that.
That's the first time it's ever happened. Now, what I think is the contributing factor to this, and I'll talk to you about this privately, like what I think is going on here. I think what happened here is I think there's one person that's the catalyst of why all of this is happening. I think the catalyst is Will Ospreay. I think Will Ospreay made a lot of disrespectful comments you could say about WWE and the wrestlers and Triple H. And I think now Hunter's like, okay, screw it. I've been quiet because Triple H ain't really talked about it. I've been quiet. Okay, now we're going to stomp this T-shirt company out for good now. And the mere fact that you have over in WWE land, okay, you have CM Punk over there. You got Cody Rhodes, who was one of the founders of this thing. You got Jade Cargill over there. You got Ethan Page over there. You got Ricky Starks over there now. You got Phoenix over there. You got Pence over there. You're about to have Mariah May coming over.
Yep.
You got a lot of different cats from AEW that are over in WWE right now. So my advice to AEW, focus. Don't go tit for tat with the whip because you're not going to beat the 800-pound gorilla. Nobody can beat them. Only one person has ever got to them, touched them for a little while, and that was Eric Bischoff in WCW. That was the only one who's ever done it. And you see what happened with that. It only lasted, I said touch for a little while. I meant we tapped them to the point where they couldn't even afford to put water in the machines at Titan Towers. That's how broke the WWE was. They was about to go out of business because of everything that happened. So that's my opinion. Stay focused, stay ready, be vigilant because WWE is on your ass. Like you owe them money. That's how serious it is.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. Let's go to Danny. Danny, I'll pose this question to you too. So being that we've seen this kind of before in the industry, do you think it creates an atmosphere of excitement? Because you're now seeing two companies go back and forth at it, and it's kind of like the wars back in the day. So do you think that would create a little bit of excitement as somebody who's not really up on the current stuff, right? Would that bring somebody like you back to the forefront because you now have two companies competing again?
For my money, this just sounds like a much dumber version of the Monday Night Wars. It's when you're talking about because the platform for watching things just isn't the same anymore. You're streaming everything. And if you're going to make people fight over whether they can watch a pay-per-view or your thing on, Peacock or whatever, or you just watch one and then you watch the other. You just say like make mine, it reminds me of the classic 1970s Marvel and DC rivalry where it was like make mine Marvel was the big slogan. It's like, yeah, if you're a diehard WWE fan, yeah, of course you're going to go with the WWE thing and you'll watch the AEW thing later. And if you're a diehard AEW fan, you're going to watch the AEW thing and you'll watch WWE later. But like, I don't think that you're capturing any market share with this. It doesn't, they take post streaming into account as much as they do live streaming for these events anyway. Like, so you're not damaging them. You're not hurting their numbers in any way. And if you're making them pick, they're still going to watch the thing they want to watch because now we live in an on-demand world. So yeah. The only thing I think this may do for them, and I think it's probably the only thing that can help, is to Dee's comment, is they're kind of poking the bear, and that might make them look like they're willing to take the WWE to task. But at the same time, they only ever went up against NXT and made a dent, but they're not tackling Raw and they're not tackling SmackDown like it is an 800-pound gorilla. You don't mess with what you know, I know it's no longer Vince, but like, you know, it's very much the same mentality. You don't mess with what Hunter and Stephanie are doing because they have the resources to ruin you. Like if they woke up tomorrow and they were like, you know what, let's buy AEW, they could. They just don't want it.
That's a very interesting comment because they could, but I don't know if Tony would sell. That's the thing. That's another. Go ahead, D.
I'm sorry. I got to say this right because he just brought this up. Let me tell you why they would want it. They would simply want AEW because of that precious time slot on Turner Network. That's why they would want it. Yep. Because you can expand the WWE brand over on the Turner Networks. That's what if they had made that deal when they bought WCW, when they acquired the assets of WCW, if that TV deal would have been a part of that, Vince would have jumped at that. To put the WWF on TNT and TBS, only would have jumped at it. So right now, AEW has that lucrative time slot of their shows being on Turner. If WWE want, they said, we'll buy that. We'll acquire some contracts, but guess what we want? We want that time slot and we want that video library. That's what we want. Because we have Cody. We can tell Cody's whole story. We can tell what really happened with CM Punk and the backstage angle. They would have the whole thing they want to do it that way. So,
I agree with that.
I want to bring it in.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. I think, you know, the Turner, the TNT and your TBS, those are like your they show your trailer park television. Like that is you know, you sandwich your wrestling stuff right in between your episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger, and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, and you know that's where you pick up your wrestling fans. So I think that they know that is a market share that is hard to corner anywhere else.
Shit! No, I remember back in the day when Nitro was started. We used to what was on TNT before Nitro was started? It was Thunder in Paradise.
Yeah.
Yep.
G versus
Thunder in Paradise.
It was on USA.
Buffy.
I remember that.
Yep.
Those were days.
He bought a Walker Texas Ranger. I was like, damn, that
was a USA Network thing.
Yeah, G versus E was USA.
That was before Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
Oh, you remember tonight after Monday Night Raw, La Femme Nikita on USA.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hell yeah. And I would not watch it.
I watched a couple episodes.
I didn't.
I don't want to go.
Like, if that run over, like if they do that run over, I'm out. Soon as some credits hit, I'm out.
I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the La Femme Nikita movie is so much better than that television series ever was.
Was that right?
Agreed.
I never saw it. I watched it sometimes, and then they had other promos. What was it? USA Up All Night. And then what was the other show I used to watch on USA after WWF Superstars on Saturday morning? Pacific Blue, the cop show on the beach, that shit. So they had a lot of stuff. Silk Stockings. They had a bunch of stuff that was on there. Man.
Oh my God, Silk Stockings.
Yeah,
man. Yeah, but it's funny. It's funny to me that we're starting to see this again. But for me, I'm of the belief that AEW they started this, but they've kind of trailed off. For the most part, Tony's been quiet. What I would suggest is that they kind of wrangle in the people that's working under him, because you're right. Will Ospreay is, and I don't know if I don't even know if you could blame Will Ospreay for that, but if I worked at a company and I really believed that my company was legit, I'd fly the flag. And I think that's what he's doing. I don't think it's meant to be disrespectful. It's just like, hey, man, I get what they're doing. And he acknowledges. He's like, I get what they're doing. They're doing great. They're selling out arenas. They're making all this money. That's great. I think that's wonderful. But for me, when the bell rings, we're the best there is. And I think if I had a guy working for me like that, I think I'd be like, all right, I get what you're doing. I like it. Calm down, though, because it's bringing too much attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's bringing way too much attention. And now you have these people, like, they're actively trying to get at us now. Like, I get what you're doing, but chill out. So I tell the whole company, like, hey, man, refrain from doing all this referencing, the WWE, calm down on that for a minute. What we're building is good. We're starting to get back to where we were. We're slowly starting to right this ship because they are. AEW, it took them years and years, and even with the Punk and Cody departures, like they're still recovering from both of those departures. Even Cody's especially. They're really recovering from that departure. And then the CM Punk stuff on top of it, it's taken them this long to even start to get the goodwill. I would not put that shit in jeopardy because once you get a company like WWE, you have their attention now. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing. And that's based off the history that we've seen in the industry. I don't know if it's a good thing for WWE to actually come after you. I don't think you want those problems at all.
No, and the thing about it was, and just like he said here, um, you like I mentioned earlier, you went up against their developmental brand. You have never proven yourself against SmackDown. You never proven yourself against Raw. This isn't the same thing it was like with WCW. WCW was a much stronger brand than the WWF was during that time frame because they had the money of Turner and they had Time Warner behind it. That was a lot stronger base than what the WWF was. WCW, under the Turner umbrella, was a publicly traded company. Because when Turner Network Television and our Turner Broadcasting Systems, they merged with Time Warner. Remember, they became what was it, Turner Time Warner? What was the first merger they did?
Yeah.
They went later on, and that was like, what was it? 90, 96. The merger was done, I think, in like 97, 98.
Yeah.
So that's really when 98 is when that whole thing went down, and that's when the network started getting in WWE's business, telling Eric Bischoff what kind of show this is going to be. We're not going to go the risque route that they went. See, here's the thing. WWF got to where they did during the Attitude Era, number one, because a lot of it, they copied ECW's format of what ECW was doing.
Yep.
But number two is because they were desperate, because they had been doing the Clowns and been doing Skinner and the Garbage Man and the Hockey Player and all these different, all these different cats here that wasn't working anymore. The new generation wasn't working. You two dudes from the new generation went down there to WCW and started a whole revolution called the NWO. So when that happens, the WWF is desperate, all right? He's secretly talking to Paul Heyman and funding ECW at the same time. But people are getting in Vince's ear. We got to do something. Right now, WWE, they're not desperate. They have majority of the market share. They're now trying to stomp out. They already bought AAA, so they're trying to stomp out. Why would you go buy AAA? Well, because you know what? We know that AAA don't like AEW, don't like Tony Khan, so we'll go down there and make a deal with them because we've always wanted to invade Mexico and get the Mexican audience, so we'll go and do that, and we know they have a relationship here with CMLL. It's only a matter of time before something happens with WWE and something in Japan. It's not going to be New Japan, but it's going to be something in Japan. They're going to strike everywhere they can at AEW. That's what this is going to be. Tony Khan says that it's not going to end the same way. It's not going to be the same. Bro, this is much more of a serious threat than it was the first time with WCW. This is different because you don't have the same momentum and the same energy. You didn't have a win streak against the WWE for 83 weeks in a row with Nitro. You didn't have that. You weren't having record attendances like WCW was on Monday night. I mean, what was it? 40-something thousand people in the Georgia Dome for a Nitro? Mm-hmm. You don't have that momentum. And I'm glad that AEW is starting to find their stride as far as storytelling goes. I saw some stuff there around Dynamite I thought was damn good. They're going in the right direction. But you are not WCW. You have not stepped up to the plate. You have never gone up to that level. You can't say anything yet, bro, when your ratings are 700,000 or whatever it is. And TV's changed. Yes, TV's changed. But look how far the number has dropped since their debut in 2019 up until now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. WWE can get away with that shit. They can get away with 1.3 or whatever it is for SmackDown. They can do that. because SmackDown's been on the air since what, 99, right? They can do that. Okay, they have the swelled audience right now. They're selling out everywhere they go. 2 nights of SummerSlam, $45,000 ticket for a meet and greet and shit. They're doing those type of numbers. This is not something you want to mess with, bro. This is like, let me stay in my lane. But it's too late to say
I agree with
because
that.
now you got the attention now. You got their attention. And I think the thing that gets me the most about this is the fact that this is going on. And Cody Rhodes is in the WWE, and pretty soon will be WWE champion again. He's the guy over there, the face pretty much of the company that's doing this to a company that he used to be a part of. So that's the interesting part I find about this whole thing is this guy is over there while this is happening. Now you would think if I guess Cody's standing on business, but it's like, damn, bro, like, you do care about those people back there at AEW, right? You do care about those talents, or is there something more here that we don't know about?
It may be something more we don't know about, honestly. But I'm gonna throw this to you, Danny. At what point, looking at historically, should a company like AEW be like, fuck it, let's go against the big dog?
It is like, like you guys just said, it depends on what's going on in the background. Being spoken of in the same breath as WWE is only helping AEW. So that's good for them. At the same time, this could really, really backfire on them. So who doesn't love an underdog? That's what America is known for. So obviously AEW, they're going to take a shot at the king. That's going to give them a little more profile than what they were dealing with before. They like D said a while ago, they're recovering from losing Cody, now losing CM Punk. So they got to do something, I'm not real sure what their stable looks like. I'm not a huge AEW fan, but if you're making the comparison between WCW and AEW, WCW during the Attitude Era carried all of the classic wrestlers that were big prior to the Attitude Era. They had Hogan, and they had Kevin Nash, they had Scott Hall, they had Bret Hart at one point, they had Ric Flair was there. What does AEW have that really draws that fan that's like, WWE is not for me? I'd like to see these other guys. They've kind of got a stable that is either people that didn't make it in WWE or have never been to WWE, have never been raised to that level. But did they really have anyone that that's filling seats that comes from an older perired?
That is a very, very good question.
Yeah, but see, but okay, I'll counter
that. That's a very interesting question.
That's good, but I'm gonna counter it.
Okay.
So it's just like what you said. It's people that WWE didn't want, right? That's kind of what they had in AEW. Okay, you say the same thing about anybody that left WWF to go to WCW. Was it really people that they didn't they didn't want, or is it people that didn't want to be over there and they wanted to go for more money over here? Macho went to WCW because he wanted to wrestle, and Vince didn't want him to wrestle. That's why he went there. Hogan went there not because of the steroid trial, number one. Number two, Hulkamania was done at WWF, so he went down to WCW to make more money. A lot of the WCW acquisitions was about money. If Scott Hall and Kevin Nash would have been getting paid what they got paid in WCW, they never would have left the WWF. When it comes to AEW had, when you talk about talents, okay, when AEW first started, they had talents that got over in New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Young Bucks, Hangman Adam Page, Cody. They pretty much had guys that got over in Bullet Club in AEW. That's when Bullet Club was really hot, okay? But then you had other talents that had got over in other places. You had Christopher Daniels there. You had Scorpio Sky. You had Chris Jericho, who had got over in WWE, who had left and became, arguably a bigger star after leaving there. So you had a lot of different alternative wrestlers there. I mean, you had the Jungle Boys. You had Marco Stunt. You had Luchasaurus. You had the MJFs that came from, MJF came from MLW. You had Wardlow. You had a lot of different acts there in a company that made it feel different. When I watched AEW when it started, it felt different. It
Very
felt different
different.
than what they were presenting in the WWE. Okay. So when you ask now, what do they have? Okay, they have guys that weren't going to make it anymore in the current form that is WWE. You have guys like the Syndicate, Hurt Syndicate. You have the Adam Coles, who has been unfortunately played with injury after injury after injury. Okay, that's the nature of the business. But he's a good hand. Okay, you have arguably one of the top guys they have there is Swerve Strickland. Okay, then you have the Will Ospreays. Then you have Hangman Adam Page. Then you have the MJFs. So you have a great roster of people that work for AEW right now that just need stories that they can sink their teeth into that's going to allow people to watch the show that may be jaded by the current WWE system. That may be jaded that, okay, I don't want to see Logan Paul. What's on this other channel here? What's this AEW that I'm hearing about? What is this? Let me give them a chance. It's kind of like with me. I gave up on AEW. I did. I gave up on AEW, but I'm coming around to it. I gave my full support to AEW and what they're doing because I think that this counter programming thing is bullshit. I think it's stupid. I'm like, let them do their thing. You guys have the majority market share. You guys are selling out arenas. You guys have this, you're gouging your fans. Whatever. Let AEW do what they're doing. Let them exist. Because we already seen what a monopolized WWE has done for the business. It did nothing for the business. It's one place and everybody needs a job and everybody can't get a job. First, ECW goes out of business because of bankruptcy, because Paul Heyman didn't tell anybody what was going on. He has a job, though. Goes to the WWF. Tommy Dreamer and them are left to hold the damn, close up shop. WCW goes out of business. All this talent. 200-some wrestlers on the market, only WWE, and WWE ain't hiring everybody. So what do? Well, we have nowhere to go. We'll go NWA Wildside. Oh, we'll form a new company, NWA TNA. That's what happens. So we saw this. So we went through all this crap that we went through to get to these guys forming AEW. And now it's time, in my opinion, out of all the disrespect, it's time for AEW to fight back now. It's time, maybe it is time for AEW to step to the big dog. It's like Scott Hall said. Yeah. Like Scott Hall said on Nitro, you want a war? You're going to get a war. If that's what you want. Because here's the thing. Tony Khan has money. He got resources. Khans are a very rich family. They got money. Okay? TKO is they're kind of money hungry, but they don't like to really spend. They like to cut.
Yep.
So start throwing some money at people that you need to get in order to win this war. Hogan, Bischoff went and got Hogan to help fight the WWF. Bischoff, history lesson. Ted Turner asked Eric Bischoff. Bischoff went to a meeting one day with Ted Turner and asked him, hey, Ted says, Bischoff went there to talk about international broadcast for WCW. Ted Turner cut him off and says, what do we have to do to compete with the WWF? Bischoff says, I don't know. Give me live TV. Fine. Put you up there right against Raw. That was the thing that changed it. That was like, oh, shit. Because now it's being done to Vince. Because now Vince is like, any documentary you watch, man, I don't know if you've seen them or not, but any documentary that they've ever done, they've always painted themselves as this mom and pop organization in like a goddamn welfare case. And we had this big old Ted Turner that was trying to put us out of business. But Vince never mentions all the shit he used to do to all these other different territories. How he used to try to run them out of business. So Tony Khan, fight, brother. You got to fight.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Let's go to the chat real quick because we do have a question. Shout out to Jen for asking this one. Do you think AEW is more genuine? Do they seem to low-key demonize WWE? I'll answer this one. I don't know what company is more genuine because you never know what really, if it's good, if wrestling's good, you really never know what's real and what's not, right? They could just be presenting something. The perception is everything is a work. But when you have two companies like this, and this is the reason for this show, when you have two companies like this that are operating at high levels, because AEW does operate at a high level. Once you get to that type of level, right, it's competition. And really in competition, almost everything is fair, right? You have to get the eyes on your product. And that's what D is saying. You have to get eyes on this product. With AEW and the roster that they do have some very talented people. Some of the best wrestlers in the world are on this roster right now. And the thing that they were missing is the thing that they are actually working on right now, and that's the storytelling. When you get compelling stories mixed with the in-ring action that you have at AEW, you have a formula for something special. Whoever it is that is operating in the background of AEW right now, I hope that they realize this and they are trying to capitalize on it. That's the perception right now. They are working on giving you better stories, and it's starting to show. If they continue this trend, you will have something interesting, because I do think if you get good stories around this roster and everybody starts to count, you can go at WWE. You can go head to head with them. And at that point, it's about what story is better. For WWE's thing, since WrestleMania, the biggest issue with WWE has been the storytelling. These things, the John Cena storyline hasn't really hit. People are starting to complain about that. And it's kind of a momentum thing on both companies. When both companies are performing at a high level, everything else in the industry rises with them. WWE is really the big tide. Once it rises, everybody else is going to rise with it. So a lot of it depends on the success of WWE. It makes everybody better. So if you have that competition and that competition is starting to rise to the level of WWE, it only benefits everybody else. And that's the healthy part of the business. But do I think they demonize WWE? Of course, because it's competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Danny, you want to follow that?
I think it does them a lot of good to demonize the WWE, to make it, to do the same thing Vince was doing with TNT and WCW, in saying that, they're the bad guys. We're, they're this big monster, and we're just trying to, tell a good story and keep ourselves in business. And we're pumping out, as long as you've got heart. If you can show that you've got heart, and you can see that heart through the stories and through the wrestlers and through what they're doing, I think that it's a really easy way to shine, especially in a period where the WWE is struggling with telling a cohesive narrative. And to the like John Cena thing, a guy who's like got a Guinness World Record for helping kids at in like the Make-A-Wish Foundation with a heel turn, that's a really hard thing to sell. Like, it really is. So the idea is like, I'm a bad guy now. Like, nobody's buying it. It's tough with John Cena. He's such a nice dude. But like, if AEW is just sticking to like telling good stories and keeping people invested and continuing to sell that narrative that, like, we've been screwed over. They took Cody, they took CM Punk, we're going to keep on rolling. I think that only helps them.
I think that
what's fun? Go ahead, D.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, when it comes to being a genuine company, I think AEW is genuine all day long. I think for the fact that Tony Khan comes out there every show and welcomes you to the show and gets you hyped, and he comes out there, you don't see Triple H doing that shit. You don't see anybody from WWE doing that. WWE show is just so clean and sterile, to the point that nothing out of the ordinary happens. They control everything over there. Tony Khan comes out there and tells fans what you're going to see and thank you for being here and all that shit. That's the type of guy. Like, Tony Khan's the type of guy that I'm pretty sure like he would be the cool dude to hang around with, you know what I mean? Because he just wants to talk wrestling. He loves the wrestling business. You have the WWE over here that has become, they become what Howard Stern became. They became corporate. They became what they used to say WCW was, corporate. The old, they Turner Time Warner. That's what they used to say. Oh, WCW. That was what they used to do, right? Well, that's what they are. They're now this big ass corporation that's no longer run. It's no longer run by the McMahon's family. So it's not necessarily the Triple H and Stephanie show. No, it's not. It's the TKO show. It's whatever they want. It's Triple H can be gone just like that. You know what I'm saying? They have no power. That's the difference here. Tony Khan has all the power. You know what I mean? He can do whatever he wants to. So I think when it comes down to being genuine, who would I side with? I'm going to side with Tony Khan. Tony Khan's genuine. Tony Khan actually has respect, I believe, for the wrestling fans. Tony Khan loves the wrestling business. If he didn't love the wrestling business, there would be no AEW today. There would be no place for all these guys and gals to go and work and have a job, whether it be professional wrestler, whether it be somebody working in the locker room or whatever the case may be. This wouldn't happen here. You brought Tony Schiavone back to the wrestling business. He had been gone for years. He had been gone since WCW line business. He came back to wrestling.
Yep.
Jim Ross has been
Yep.
over there. We've seen the resurrection, literally, of Jake the Snake Roberts happening at AEW. You know what I'm saying? We've seen a lot of good things that AEW has done. Have there been bad spots happen there? Absolutely. But that's any company. We've seen bad things happen. I believe back in the day, too, and I'm not his biggest fan, but I'll say this. I believe back in the day, before he got overwhelmed with bullshit, I think Paul Heyman genuinely was Tony Khan, who loved the wrestling business, who wanted to do something different. And that's why he got ECW. You know what I'm saying? He got it from, Todd Gordon. And that whole thing that happened down there. So he wanted to keep this thing going. You know what I mean? But he's bad with money, mismanaged.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I don't like the way he did business. Not paying all the wrestlers what they were owed. That's my thing. But he loved the business. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But
So
it's funny that you say that too, because even with the mismanagement and people from ECW, Tommy Dreamer is like, he'll tell you flat out, like, there were times I wanted to kill Paul Heyman. And
yeah.
you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
the loyalty that he got from all of those wrestlers back then, like, you won't find that. And Tony's like the closest one to it. People talk about Tony in the same vein. So you are right that genuineness does stick out. It really does stick out. And another thing that you hear a lot of wrestlers say is that he genuinely cares for the people that work for him. So
it's not all, but hold up a second. Now we keep it 1,000 on this podcast.
Yep.
We have heard, when it comes to mismanagement, though, we have heard about situations where wrestlers don't have any communication with Tony.
Yep, that's true.
There's been contract situations where they may not have the best HR department. Okay, so that's one of the things that Tony Khan should work on. You want to have a place to work in AEW that's opposite of WWE. Okay, you hear about, oh my God, the atmosphere at WWE is so good, so good, so good, but then you hear about, these people back here that are still in catering. You hear about the Baileys not getting a push and getting removed from WrestleMania. You hear about this guy. Where is this guy? Where is my opportunity? Where is this guy? What, blah, blah, blah. That's all you're hearing. So Tony Khan has to make it appealing for people to want to come work for AEW. You just can't just throw money at them. You got to have a plan to say, okay, you come over here and I'm gonna do something with you. It's kind of like what Bret Hart said in his book. He says that when he went to WCW, he was there at the CNN Center and ran into Eric Bischoff, Hulk Hogan, and Macho Man. And Bischoff says, oh, you think you're a big star now? Wait till I get it done with you. And look what happened to Bret Hart. So you have to have a plan when you bring these people into AEW. What's the plan? Okay, what's the plan for the Syndicate? What's the plan for Will Ospreay? What's the plan for Hangman? Where are we going with Hangman right now? They did a good thing every day. I think we talked about this, privately. Like we talked about this. The segment they did on Dynamite,
phenomenal,
between Ospreay, Swerve Strickland, and Hangman Page, where they're putting it all on Hangman. That's the story they're telling here. Hangman's the most important here. We have to get this title of Moxley. They have done more to make the AEW Championship feel important in that one segment than I do give a damn about Jey Uso's world title. And I'm a Jey Uso fan. But I'm more invested in what they're doing on the other show to get this belt off Jon Moxley. That's how I feel about that. And that's because you can never take the truth as a diss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So let's get into something I did want to bring up on the show. So Danny, you are starting you are relaunching actually a wrestling promotion, right?
Yep.
Based on this conversation, and feel free to talk about your promotion and what you got going on. But with this information, how would you navigate something like that as a part owner of a promotion?
So I think with any business, at the end of the day, cash is king. So as long as your bottom line looks good, you're doing something right, and that's the most important thing, is to tell is to get people in the door to have an interesting product and to be telling stories that people genuinely care about and genuinely want to be there for. So even with a small wrestling promotion like we have, which is Cape Championship Wrestling, my business partner, Ken, he started Cape Championship Wrestling many years ago. I want to say like maybe 15 years ago, he started this wrestling promotion. And it's changed hands, and then recently he had the opportunity to buy it back, and so he has taken the reins of it again. And then he was like, "Hey man, you want to help me with this?" And I was like, "Dude, I love wrestling. I'm absolutely in." So what we are hitting the ground running with this promotion is we're rebranding. We're working on some new ideas for it, and then we're working on bringing that energy and bringing that excitement that the old ECW brought, that the best parts of the WWE brought, around the Attitude Era, and really that what we've been talking about this entire time is good stories, good production value, something people can get invested in. And so I think that as long as that's your focus, as long as that's AEW's focus, is putting out a good product first and competing for market share second whenever they have a good foundation underneath them, I think they don't have much to worry about. They've obviously got fans. They're drawing people in for a reason. Now they have to keep them and they have to grow that audience. So as someone that's trying to launch a promotion myself, I want to mimic the best parts and avoid all the worst parts that I have seen in the wrestling industry in the last 40 plus years that I've been a fan. So I hope I've answered your question there. I think I think the most important thing is to just put out a good product, and everything else comes second.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely agree with that. And that's the thing. And we on this show we've said it, and we've said the wrestling audience really isn't that big. There are not as many wrestling fans as there used to be. Wrestling used to be really mainstream, right? And in previous episodes, we've talked about the impact of John Cena's heel turn. It was the first time that we've seen wrestling sort of hit the mainstream, but they didn't capitalize on it. So the stories absolutely matter in this situation, because if you had a Cena, and the way they executed, I wasn't really a fan of either. But the story itself, it was wonky. It wasn't a cohesive story, even though the heel turn was absolutely massive, right? It was a massive moment in the history of the industry that kind of fell flat in the end. You know what I mean? But definitely the stories do matter, and which is why you're starting to see what you're seeing in the industry, which is it's an interesting time. It really is an interesting time right now.
You brought up earlier, Danny, you brought up Cena's heel turn, and he did all the stuff to Make a Wish, and it just don't seem right that he's out there being a heel. It was the same kind of atmosphere when Hogan turned. Same thing.
Yeah,
And
I was thinking that.
Yeah, originally Hogan did not want to turn heel. Like, they came to him about, I believe they said a year before this happened. Bischoff went to Hogan's house and asked him would he consider turning. I think this is around the time they were feuding with the Dungeon Doom angle was happening in WWE.
Yep.
So he asked him would he consider turning heel, and Terry, Hogan said, "Brother, until you walk a mile in my red and yellow boots, you do not understand what you're asking me to do." Because he already established it. Hogan was the Make-A-Wish guy. Hogan was the guy that was doing all the USO stuff and everything. So he was well established as that guy. So he basically kicked Eric Bischoff out of his house for even suggesting that he turn. Wasn't until Hall and Nash get down there and Hogan's foundry, and then that's when they turned him. He decided to go. And they had they didn't know. They thought, if Sting was the backup, if Hogan didn't go through, it was going to be Sting.
Mm-hmm.
So Hogan did it, and quite honestly, I think we can all agree, cutting the man Terry Bollea from the character Hulk Hogan, Hogan pulled it off better than Cena, because Hogan had a legitimate reason to turn. If you look at Hogan's run on WCW, up until that point, he had been legitimately getting booed. And that's the controversial thing that I have with John Cena's turn. John Cena said in the promo the reason why he did it. First of all, The Rock wasn't there, but we'll go ahead and take The Rock out of the equation. The reason he said that he turned was because the fans had been awful to him. Okay, bro. Every time you've come back to WWE television, they've cheered the shit out of you. They have gave you that pop. They respected you because you have been gone away, so they missed you. So the it's kind of lame. And then the segment on SmackDown last night, the people were behind Cena. Like, what is? I mean, but it was
so much so they almost started cheering Logan Paul, bro. Like that shit was wild.
That's what I'm getting at here. So it's like I'm thinking to myself real quick, fantasy booking. That's what we do on this show here. I'm thinking to myself, well, how the hell do you turn Cena back into a babyface? Because it's going to happen. It's kind of like Robert Downey Jr., right? Robert Downey Jr. is not coming in to play Doomsday. He's going to end up being Iron Man again, right? This is some multiverse shit that we're dealing with right now in WWE. So, bottom line, it's going to happen here. Okay, you saw the foreshadowing last night. The way you're going to turn Cena back, it's going to probably be involving Logan Paul somehow. That's the way you're going to turn him back. And if it was me doing the story, I'm turning Cody. Cody was really the real bad guy. Everything that John Cena said about me was true. I'm the bad guy. That's how you do it. And Cena versus Cody will be John Cena's final match. With the double turn. That's what I would do. It makes the most sense.
I've said that too. I've said that Cody should have been turned. In my opinion, he should have turned the wall.
Well, that's the problem he had in AEW.
He didn't want to.
He didn't want to turn, and I'm like, listen. Hogan was a bigger star. Hogan didn't want to turn, but you know what got Hogan to turn? Just the mere fact of all that money I can make to turn, and that's what he did. I mean, dude, did you guys look at the WCW contract the guy had? I mean, he was getting paid to wear an NWO shirt. Did y'all know that? There's like I think that was like $30,000 every time he wore an NWO shirt on TV. Yeah, that's the deal the guy had. It's crazy. So hell yeah, man. So merchandise.
The Hogan heel turn was so watered down, like that the thing that made Hogan a great heel is the shit he was doing backstage, like refusing to lose to Sting after that story build up, all that kind of stuff. Like he was a very selfish wrestler. He wouldn't put anybody else over. But like Hogan as a heel, whenever he was like he was doing promos and he'd be like, "You're being a real P word right now." It's like, this guy won't even say anything bad. Like he wouldn't even use, like, he barely used profanity.
They couldn't do that on Turner.
I know that was very limited on Turner, but it had the same energy as when Sandman came to WCW and his hardcore matches.
Hack?
Yeah, hardcore hack. When he came to WCW and his hardcore matches were with rubber tip barbed wire, like that. Hogan's heel turn had that same energy on WCW. It was like, yeah, he's a heel, but like in this universe, people aren't,
that is interesting.
Aren't give me a hell yeah, it's not you some bitch, like there was none of that there. It was like
I can't
rated PG heels.
I gotta stop you on that one, bro, because I gotta stop you on that one. The heat that Hogan had at Bastion Beach when he turned, they had down there right on their hands out there. You have to go back and look at that. Like you and Jan, you guys got to review that match.
No, dude, I'm with you on that. I know it was big when he turned, but maintaining that heel persona was not.
Oh no, he maintained it though. That's what I'm saying. He did maintain it because every time it came out there, they had heat, and people would throw shit in the ring. You got heat when people want to come after you up at the barricade when they want to kick your ass. That's how you know you had heat. So he did maintain it. Now I get your point. You're saying that it was a more PG kind of heel turn, but you got to remember the era that we were in. WCW was a PG show.
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't even allow blood on Turner. Vince didn't allow blood either. They were both PG shows. They didn't have that. ECW had the edge on that. So ECW was on the more risky stuff. But guess what? ECW didn't have the viewership that WCW did or the WWF did. They didn't even get that viewership until their wrestlers started coming to the WWF show in 97. Remember when Sabu came over, Taz came over? Remember when Raw became ECW? That's when they started to get that whole thing. So you kind of keeping that. Hogan kept the momentum for the heel turn, I would say, until where it kind of jumped the shark was the middle of 98. Now, when you go real quick to Sting, there's a bunch of different factors as to why Hogan didn't want to do the job for Sting. It wasn't that much that he didn't want to do the job for Sting. It's like he says, and Bischoff has said this, Sting's mind wasn't in it. When they got to the MCI Center that day in Washington, Sting's head wasn't with it. They said, this guy is like, dude, I'm about to pass the torch to you. I'm about to give you the belt. And you're not even excited about it. Like, what's going on here? And Sting has admitted that he had a lot of issues going on, personal issues that he was dealing with at the time. I think Hogan saw this and was like, this dude ain't ready. Like, we've been building this and building this and building this this entire time, and this guy ain't ready. You know? So that's just the thing here for fans of No Gimmicks. I will come out here and bury Hulk Hogan, but I will actually put the son bitch over too when it needs to be put over.
Yeah.
I will defend the fucker when I have to defend him. So they claim it was a tan. They claim he wasn't tanned. Sting looked okay to me, but they said his mind wasn't there. But Sting admitted that Sting became born again in 98. So he admitted that he had a lot of issues going on there. So it ain't the same thing like when Warrior got it. Warrior was excited as hell. He was crying. It was the complete opposite with Sting. That's what they say. I don't know. But teach your own. He was a good heel behind the scenes. I agree with you.
The thing with Hogan, man, I was, boots on the ground for that. The thing that made it work is that I was so pissed every time that Hogan won over Sting. Whenever, so like, we're talking story, right?
Yeah.
Sting drops in the middle of the ring, and the entire NWO is in there, and they're running scared. Like, he's beating the shit out of all of these guys and getting them out of the ring, Hogan included. And then you put him one-on-one, and Hogan legitimately just fucking beats him. Like, how does that make sense? This guy is beating 12 guys, dropping him, and I know it's just story, but like, this guy's dropping in the ring, beating 12, 13 guys, the entire NWO stable. Whenever the Giant was part of it, you got Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, like wrestling legendary wrestlers, and Sting's clearing the ring, and then he gets a one-on-one with Hogan, and Hogan just like beats him, like legitimately. Doesn't even have to cheat most of the time. It's like, how does that fucking make sense? Like, this
you're
is
talking
so
about
stupid.
you're talking about we're still talking about Starrcade, right?
I'm talking about every time this happened, because it was multiple times, and it was why I was
only remember,
and I was a Hogan fan as a kid, and it was every fucking time that they would get in the ring together and just be one-on-one.
I only remember, so the first encounter they actually Sting and Hogan actually wrestled was on Nitro in 95.
Yeah.
It was a DQ ending. That was when the Dungeon of Doom got in the ring. Second time around was Starrcade 97 when they did that crazy count from Nick Patrick, which was supposed to be a fast count, but it was a slow count. It was a normal cadence count. The third time they actually wrestled was going to be Super Brawl 97 or 98, excuse me, where Sting beat Hogan for the title with help from Randy Savage. The next time after that they wrestled was going to be Fall Brawl 99, which Sting beat Hogan and Sting turned heel. So I don't know, dude. Hogan never beat Sting all those times. That didn't happen.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like
if you want to talk about Macho Man,
Nitro.
You want to talk about Macho
matches.
Man never got a victory over Hogan. You're muted, buddy.
I'm muted. My mic's not working.
Sorry, no, that's me. I was like, that is true, because I used to be. That was what I used to be pissed at.
See, Sting actually got some wins over Hogan. Macho Man never got a win over Hulk Hogan. That never happened. Macho Man won the championship at Spring Stampede 98 and lost it the next night on Nitro to Hogan with help from Bret Hart. So damn, I just gave you the whole history of Sting and Hogan.
I feel like there were some Nitro matches where it was just Hogan and Sting one-on-one, and Hogan got over. Like, I might be wrong, but I feel like
there was a beatdown. They did a beatdown angle
beatdowns
where the NWO beat Sting's ass. That happened.
They beat
a couple weeks before Starrcade. Yeah, that's when they first got him. When the entire NWO beat him, and Hogan was like, "I'm the man. I am."
Because Sting was running through the NWO, but once he actually got to Hulk Hogan beat the shit out of him. Right. That I do remember.
Because Hogan had to get his heat because the entire time Hogan had been like, people don't realize this about Hogan. Hogan had been getting dropped by Sting every time they got in there. Like Sting would drop him. Sting was like fucking Batman or some shit. Mm-hmm. Every time he got in there, he was just dropping the NWO, dropping Hogan. So those matches that I mentioned is the only time that they ever wrestled. That was it. The other times it was like a tag match here, a tag match there. Sting and Hogan wrestled on Nitro one time when Sting was in the Wolfpack and Hogan was NWO Hollywood, and then that's when Bret Hart came out, DDT Sting, and turned heel again, siding with Hogan. They wrestled that time too. So every time that they've ever wrestled, honestly, and then it was a Nitro match on Nitro in Baltimore the night after Starrcade 97. They had a rematch. Sting was a champion. That match ended in controversy, which would then lead to the rematch at Super Brawl. So Hogan never, outside of that fast count, 1, 2, 3, he never actually really got a win over Sting.
Interesting. I don't remember it that way, but I mean, you got facts, so. But as a fan at the time, I just remember being pissed that Sting couldn't get over on Hogan.
Fucking Lex Luger. Let's hold up a second. So we're going deep in a rabbit hole real quick. Let's talk about Lex Luger. Lex Luger, WCW Monday Nitro, beats Hogan in Detroit on Nitro for the world title, right? Loses it a couple days later at Road Wild in Sturgis. You talk about bullshit. They're like, damn, you only get the fucking title for less than a week, bro? Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. So that's the politics. So that's like, well, brother, I think this is a good idea. I'll let him beat me, man. And then at Road Wild, brother, I'll get it back. And we'll do a whole thing for me and the hot rod, Dennis Rodman, brother. We're going to go to Bashing Beach. All this type of shit.
Yeah. Lex Luger, this doesn't mean anything, but my when I was a backyard wrestler, my finishing move was the torture rack into a diamond cutter.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's why some remember back in the day.
I'd put them in the torture rack and then throw their legs out and fucking diamond cutter them.
Oh, so that's kind of like a TKO, right?
Kind of.
Nobody does that move specifically that I have seen, but.
So he's like, you do want a torture rack and then spin around for a diamond cutter.
I do a torture rack and I'd throw their body over my shoulder through the air. So they do like a cartwheel over my shoulder and I grab their head and
that seems like some shit you would make on WWE SmackDown when you can make moves.
Create a wrestler.
It was pretty it was visually appealing. Definitely. Yeah. Good move. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Nah, that's dope, man. That's a dope finisher move.
I might be dusting off so my wrestling name was Killer Clown. I might be dusting off the Killer Clown drop for the Cape Championship Wrestling revamp. We'll see.
Oh, well, I'll have to send you a cease and desist there.
I've been, since I've gotten into streaming and content creation, I'm waiting on my first cease and desist so I can frame that fucker. So please do.
Yeah, they can go fuck themselves.
All right, man.
We're giving you fucking advertisement jack-offs.
I know. All right, man. Let's jump into these final shots and thoughts.
For sure.
All right. Before we jump off, I do want to say we will be back. Me and Jan will be back next week with the reactions. I think we're gonna do Bash at the Beach.
I think it should.
I think that's a good one. That's a good one. Based off this episode, that's a good one to jump into. So we'll do Bash at the Beach 96. Show the world the best heel turn in the history of professional wrestling.
Hands down.
So we'll do that one. That is actually historically it is a very good point in the business. It changed everything. It really
I'll tell you a second heel turn that was actually pivotal as well. That a
What's
lot of people
that?
don't talk about. Andre the Giant.
Oh, with Hulk Hogan?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And on the slick, it's kind of what they were chasing with Cena.
Hmm.
If you think about it, because Andre Giant was beloved, man, very much beloved. I don't think people really wanted to boo Andre either. It's just he was in the ring, and that's the thing too. You need a credible face to do that shit with. I don't think
But
you
he was a
had that.
heel in real life.
Right, right.
But he was a heel in real life, though.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's an
Cena is
asshole.
too.
Yeah, well.
Cena is too. But what I'm saying is, like, he was so beloved, like, the world over. So when he turned, it was shocking because it was against Hulk Hogan. But you don't have anybody on the flip side of John Cena that you can compare that shit to. So people don't really want to boo John Cena. They really don't. And that proof of that shit was last night. It's like the guy makes too much fucking sense for me to
he
boo
does.
him.
That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the gag.
Yeah.
He makes too much sense. Like he's telling you, you're a John Cena wannabe. You're a John Cena wannabe. Oh, and by the way, you're lazy.
Yes.
That's because that's one of the criticisms people say about Jey Uso. Is
Yep.
that he's lazy now because he, whatever. I don't know, say he's lazy. I just think he's the yeet thing. Because if you look at him and you look at Jimmy, I don't know.
Jimmy has more character, bro. I'm gonna just put it out there.
Oh no, he does. That's what I'm saying. Jimmy, but you know, I think Jimmy. I think what's hurting Jimmy though is Jimmy don't have a story.
Yeah,
and I don't like the story they're going to tell you. It kind of seems like they're trying to do a bloodline kind of reunion
a
right
revamp.
now.
Yeah,
Revamp, and I just don't think it's going to work this time around with that. I think that the obvious thing is going to be Jacob signing with Jimmy. That's I think the story because you know what has going to happen. They keep dragging this shit out. You know the fans want to pop big for Jacob when Jacob turns.
Yep.
You know they you know this is going to happen, but they're dragging this out. That's one of the problems, bro. Is the storytelling is at a snail's pace in WWE. Like get it over with. And then when you talk about Cena, real quick, the problem with Cena is the biggest reason why his heel turn isn't working. And I'm standing by this, and I know a lot of other people stand by this as well. Is because The Rock was the catalyst of the whole damn thing.
Absolutely.
And without The Rock being there, and without The Rock's explanation of why this happened, I'm pretty sure, Danny, you know, starting up your company here, you guys not gonna have any open-ended stories where you don't have a reason why things happen. You're gonna have a reason why this shit went down. For The Rock to come out and say, "Well, I think that the final boss arc was over. I don't think the final boss was needed for this any further." Bullshit! You're literally in the ring doing this shit, and Cena's looking at you. So how are you not involved? And it's like, oh, we can't. You know, the final boss is not going to be a part of it. We'll send out 110-pound, anorexic fucking Travis Scott out there to let him go out there and do something with, Cody.
So he can slap the shit out of Cody.
So he can slap the shit out of Cody. Like, okay, well, no one gives a damn about you, bro. And it's like if you want to be accurate about something right quick, let's just put it like this: Money in the Bank tag match, right? Why is John Cena not teaming with Travis Scott to face Uso and Cody? Wouldn't that bring eyes to the product? That's what TKO loves, right? Mm-hmm. They love bringing anybody. They love bringing any old Netflix jabroni on the damn show, including the ones that have buried fucking wrestling in the past and say, why the fucking people are watch this shit and you have this asshole on the show promoting his damn show on Netflix. But that's
disconnect. Yep, disconnect. All right, Danny. What you got? Plug everything that you got going on for the people out there. Let them know where they can find you. Once again, man, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
This was fun, man. But let the people know where they can find you. Plug away.
Okay, before I get too far into that, I promise I'd show them. Here's the Extreme Wrestling Federation Hardcore title. You see, it says clown. That's from whenever I held it.
You had the plate on there? That's awesome.
This is the classic WWE heavyweight title belt that I converted. And this one is actually legit. So this we changed to the VWA. We were the Extreme Wrestling Federation, and then we changed to the Violent Wrestling Association. But this right here is actually I don't know if you can see the plates on the side, but this is actually a steel chair that was wrapped around my head. I cut the seat off of it and made the belt out of it, and then all of the stuff holding the belt pieces on is barbed wire that I cut apart and used to hold it together. So that was a hardcore title for that.
You took a steel chair that you got hit with,
yeah,
and made a belt out of it.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's steel chair and barbed wire. So yeah, this was actually
creative.
Wrapped around my head at one point.
That is creative.
Thank you.
That is very creative. That's dope.
But, you can find my crazy ass and all of my friends on Cutting Edge Hero every Wednesday at 7-ish. And you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, as well as we are working on getting the episodes up on TikTok. I say every week we're going to figure it out, and every week I forget to do it until the show starts. But you can also find me at Cape Events. We have the 20th anniversary Cape Con coming up November 7th, 8th, and 9th. We announced Janet Varney, the voice of Avatar Korra from Avatar, The Legend of Korra. And then yesterday on a live stream, we announced that Greg Baldwin, the voice of Uncle Iroh from the original Avatar, and then also Legend of Korra, is joining us. We're also working on bringing some more guests in. I can tell you guys exclusively here on No Gimmicks, we are working on getting Mick Foley to the show this year. So we'll see if that happens. Since he was a voice actor on Avatar, and also we always try to bring a wrestling guest if we can. But anyway, you can find me there as well. And then also always on DFPN, wherever they'll have me. So
absolutely, man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then June, we're planning to start that relaunch for Cape Championship Wrestling. So that should be coming up quick. And then we'll be trying to get that on all the streaming platforms as well.
Absolutely, man. And since you're doing Cape Con November, D cosplay extraordinaire, does a mean Darth Vader.
Hell yeah, dude.
So would love to see that happen, man. But yeah, man, once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on the show. D, what you got? Bring us home.
Well, I am right now finishing the Obi-Wan Kenobi Vader helmet. That's what I'm working on right now. Actually, when we're done here, I got to go out and do some more sanding and priming and shit. I wasn't too keen with the paint job. Had a little bit of some orange peel, what we call it. So trying to fix that. That's what I'm working on, and I'm trying to print the armor. So I got a lot of things going on. Matter of fact, there's an event going on tonight. Somebody's just asking, am I available to beat Vader tonight? I don't fucking know. You can't come up and say, hey, are you available to come out tonight? I don't know. You know what I mean? So other than that, the usual shtick, let's help control the pet population out there. Every pet's Vader neuter. Don't be lames out there and, dump your dogs and shit all over the place, because I don't really like that. You don't want the animal, don't get the animal. That's my thing about that. Also, don't raise your dogs to be assholes like mine's, because Bane and Kylo are pricks. Cool, man. Bane and Kylo are pricks. Okay, and Bane is a harasser. Bane is a harasser. He's a harasser. But other than that, NerdKing from a Sith Lord, it was nice meeting you. I'm pretty sure that we will work together again in the future once we conquer the Empire.
I'm with you.
You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much it. I mean, this has been a very good chat. I think that we knocked it out of the park today, talking about this counter-programming thing, this war that WWE is starting, and I think that it's going to end a little bit differently, like Tony Khan said. It won't be the same way. They will not go the way of Jim Crockett Promotions. Okay? If you listen, to be completely honest real quick, Jim Crockett Promotions went the way they did because they spent too much money. I mean, just be honest. That's what they overspent. When everybody's driving a Cadillac, and you got Mercedes Benz and shit, and when you got Lear jets, okay, and then you know Dusty Rhodes is sitting up there in the office, and he says he goes into the accountant's office. Jim Crockett showed up in the accountant's office, and he went there and he went there and shut the door, and then he came out the door, baby, and then all of a sudden he was white as the ghost. He said, "With $3 million in the hole, you know, that's what it was, baby. It had nothing to do with my booking. It had nothing to do with anything I was doing. It was all because they spent too much money, baby. You know, so that's what I was done.
Dope, man, dope. But yeah, man, thank you guys for tuning in.
A-Dub.
Yes.
EC Dub. WWE. That don't even sound right.
No, it don't. They don't even chant that.
You imagine somebody coming to my show and said WWE. Who the fuck does that lame ass shit?
No one. But thank you guys for tuning in today. Good show, you guys. Danny, you're more than welcome to come back on anytime, man. If you want to promote something.
Whoa. 1 second.
What?
I just noticed something.
What?
You have a Captain America shield back there. I'm just noticing things. Did you happen to see the new movie? What'd you think?
I thought the second attempt at making Winter Soldier was fine. It was a good movie.
Okay.
Yeah. It was. I don't think it was winning any awards. I don't think it was changing or moving the needle at all. But I thought it was a decent superhero movie. I wasn't mad about it.
What's your real quick? What's your take on James Gunn's Superman is coming out? How do you think that's going to do?
I'm apprehensive. I don't think James Gunn has it in him to make a movie that will give us a good Superman. I think that there's going to be too many dick and fart jokes in it for it to be a good Superman movie. But I say that with the caveat that everything I have seen so far seems like it's going to be pretty good. So I may be eating my hat on that one. So far, the only kind of movies James Gunn has made in the superhero world are Guardians of the Galaxy over and over and over again. So I'm interested to see what he does with the Superman and the DCU.
Well, I can tell you this. There's a rumor going around that the test screenings for Superman didn't go too well.
Yeah.
And that they have actually gone back and they've taken out 30 minutes from the movie. And those 30 minutes was a lot of the 30 minutes that they took out were a lot of the comedic aspects you were talking about. They took that out and they brought in a second composer to do some music on the movie. They've actually done reshoots and they've made the movie a more serious movie than what it was. So they've gone back and changed some things. Apparently, David Zaslav and Peter Safran and James Gunn are working to get this done so they can knock it out of the park. So I, for one, hoping that they do this. But I want to get your take, and we'll have to revisit this one day and see where we're at.
Yeah, I'll be down for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But again, great show, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. If y'all got nothing else, I got nothing else.
The most important thing of the day to say: long live the Empire.
Sure. All right, y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, take care of each other. Enjoy what you want to enjoy. Peace.
And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmick. Yeah. And I know it's all business. We give them no gimmicks.